pulling you towards choices you regret or reactions you can't explain. You try to be calm, to be rational, to be the person you aspire to be, but then something happens. A passing comment, an unexpected glance, a memory surfacing from the quiet corners of your mind, and suddenly you're swept away by an emotional current you can't name. Your chest tightens, a sudden knot in your stomach, your thoughts race like wild horses, and your words twist into something sharp, something silent, or something utterly unrecognizable. Long after the moment has passed, its echo lingers. You're still replaying it, still feeling the sting, the phantom ache of that reaction, still wondering, why did I react like that? Why do certain people or situations seem to have this unseen power over you, capable of derailing your entire day or even your deep-seated sense of self? It's a feeling of being hijacked, of your inner landscape being dictated by something beyond your conscious will, like a ship adrift without a captain. You might tell yourself it's stress or just your personality, or that you're simply having a bad day. A convenient label to contain the inexplicable chaos. But what if it's something far more fundamental? What if the very things that irritate you, that consume you, that make you feel small or defensive, are not random occurrences but precise signals? What if they are urgent, insistent whispers from a hidden part of yourself, begging for your attention? Carl Jung, the visionary Swiss psychiatrist whose insights continue to unravel the complexities of the human spirit, had a brutal yet liberating answer: until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. This isn't about some external destiny, some predetermined path etched in stone. It's about the hidden master within you, an unacknowledged part of your psyche that Jung called the shadow self. It's the darkest truth about our inner lives, that what we refuse to see, what we deny, what we bury, does not disappear. It simply gains clandestine command, orchestrating our lives from the unseen depths, like a forgotten conductor leading a symphony of inner turmoil. And if you've ever yearned for genuine inner freedom, a quiet strength that no external storm can shake, then this journey inward is your truest path. Because the fight isn't out there, it's within. And the control you seek isn't over others, but over the parts of yourself you've been avoiding your entire life, the very aspects you've locked away in the forgotten chambers of your being. Imagine your psyche as a vast, ancient mansion stretching across an expansive estate. You spend most of your waking life diligently tending to the sunlit rooms, your public persona, your achievements, the carefully curated version of yourself you present to the world. You ensure every surface is polished, every cushion plumped, every book perfectly aligned, meticulously striving to conform to what society expects or what you wish to be. This is your conscious ego, the tour guide of your daylight hours, always pointing towards the polished, acceptable parts of your being. But beneath the grand facade, beyond the gleaming chandeliers and perfectly manicured gardens, exists another part of you, the shadow. It resides in the dimly lit hallways that stretch into forgotten corners, the locked chambers in the attic, filled with dusty childhood dreams, and the damp, echoing cellars where primal fears and animalistic urges are stored. This isn't necessarily evil or inherently malevolent, but it's everything you deemed unacceptable, inconvenient, dangerous, or even embarrassing during your formative years, those tender periods of childhood and adolescence. It's the fierce, untamed rage you were told was unladylike, silenced with a sharp glance or a dismissive hand. It's the tender vulnerability you learned to hide behind a shield of sarcasm or stoicism because showing true emotion felt like an invitation to hurt. It's the raw, authentic desire you shamed away, judging it as dirty or greedy. It's the towering ambition that felt too selfish in a culture that praised humility, or the explosive creativity that was dismissed as impractical daydreaming. These fragments of your authentic self, once vibrant and alive, pulsing with natural energy, were not simply forgotten. They were actively pushed into the unconscious, exiled from the conscious self like unwanted guests. They didn't die in the darkness, they simply went underground, where they continue to thrive like a powerful, intricate root system waiting for an opportunity to emerge, to send tendrils up into your conscious life. And here's Jung's profound insight, a truth that echoes through the annals of human experience. These buried parts don't stay dormant. They don't just sit quietly in the dark, passively awaiting rediscovery. Instead, they begin to influence your life from the shadows, like an unseen hand guiding your choices, shaping your perceptions, and dictating your emotional responses. When you find yourself consistently drawn to certain types of people, perhaps those who embody the very traits you suppress within yourself, or repelled by others with an intensity that seems disproportionate to their actions, it might be the shadow at work. When you experience intense, irrational anger at a minor slight, or feel an overwhelming, insatiable need for external validation, or find yourself inexplicably sabotaging success just as it's within reach, it's often the shadow asserting its influence, compelling you to repeat familiar, yet ultimately unfulfilling patterns. It compels you to react, to defend, to chase, or to withdraw in ways that seem logical on the surface, rationalized by your ego, but are deeply rooted in these unaddressed internal conflicts. This unacknowledged aspect is why you might feel an undeniable pull towards something that logically makes no sense, or why you find yourself consistently trapped in repeating cycles of behavior, be it in relationships, career choices, or self-defeating habits, despite your best intentions and conscious efforts to break free. You believe you are making conscious decisions, but a deeper, more primal part of you, operating from the depths of your unconscious, is steering the ship, often towards familiar yet ultimately unfulfilling shores. Consider the sexual shadow, for instance. It isn't merely about physical lust or primal urges, it's about every aspect of your sensuality, your vital life force, and your desire for authentic connection that was deemed wrong, dirty, shameful, or unworthy. It's the spontaneous expression of joy, the craving for intimacy, the vulnerability in touch, the yearning for deep emotional and physical union, all of which might have been judged or repressed. If you suppress this vital life energy, if you deny its existence, it doesn't vanish. Instead, it emerges as compulsion, addiction, a relentless pursuit of fleeting pleasures, or a crippling numbness that leaves you feeling profoundly disconnected from your own body, your authentic self, and your relationships. This is the insidious nature of the shadow's control. It operates in plain sight, influencing every aspect of your life, yet remains invisible to the unexamined mind. It doesn't scream for attention, it subtly twists your perceptions, ensuring you remain blind to its true source, making you believe the problem is always out there. The most significant cost of allowing your shadow to operate unconsciously is the profound loss of your true self. You become fractured, living a life that feels incomplete, often without understanding why. It's like living in a grand house but only ever occupying a few rooms, leaving the vast majority of your inner landscape unexplored and unlived. There's a constant dull ache, a feeling of being a ghost in your own life, perpetually searching for something you can't quite name. Jung believed that every person you encounter can serve as a mirror, reflecting back aspects of your own shadow. The qualities you vehemently despise in others, their arrogance, their loudness, their perceived weakness, their blatant selfishness, their apparent lack of empathy, are often precisely the traits you've suppressed within yourself, or parts of yourself you fear becoming. You can't stand someone who talks over you, not necessarily because they're inherently terrible, but because a part of you was never allowed to speak freely, and your inner child yearns for that uninhibited expression. You recoil from perceived selfishness, perhaps because your own legitimate needs were shamed and dismissed in childhood, leading you to disown your own desire for self-preservation and healthy boundaries. This isn't merely an intellectual observation, it's an emotional reaction, a visceral disturbance, a tightness in your gut when someone embodies a part of you that was exiled. This is why certain people get under your skin so easily, why their mere presence can trigger an internal storm, a tempest of emotions you can't control. It's not them, it's the unhealed wound they inadvertently touch within you, a raw nerve they accidentally expose. Anger, Jung asserted, is a primal reaction to exposure, a fierce flare from your shadow saying, "You've touched something fragile, something unloved, something I've been hiding for a very long time." If you get angry easily, if you find yourself disproportionately enraged by minor injustices, it's not because you're inherently flawed, it's because you're protecting a part of yourself that still believes it's small, unseen, unworthy, or perpetually threatened. Every defense you erect, every boundary you struggle to set or enforce, every argument you feel compelled to win, every moment of people-pleasing that drains your spirit, is often a desperate attempt by your conscious ego to control the external world, to meticulously manage perceptions, so you never have to confront the chaos and perceived vulnerability within. But this external control is a mirage, a fragile illusion. It's anxiety dressed in better public relations. It consumes your energy, leaving you drained, perpetually on guard, and exhausted by the constant vigilance. You build towering walls around yourself, believing you're keeping others out, not realizing that you're simultaneously trapping yourself within them, creating a self-imposed prison of perfection and control. The fear of judgment, the terror of rejection, the deep-seated belief that your worth is perpetually up for debate. These are the invisible chains forged by an unexamined shadow, and they dictate your reality, shaping your choices, your relationships, and your very sense of possibility. They push you to seek validation outside yourself, leading to an endless chase for approval that can never truly satisfy. You might achieve astounding success, accumulate vast possessions, build seemingly perfect relationships, yet still feel an inexplicable gnawing sense of emptiness, a hollow echo where your true self should reside. This internal void, Jung argued, is often mistaken for something else entirely, leading us down paths of fleeting satisfaction. Take the relentless pursuit of lust, for example, or endless consumerism, or the compulsive scroll through social media feeds. On the surface, it seems like a physical craving, a simple need for release, connection, or superficial engagement. But Jung suggested it often masks a deeper spiritual hunger, a longing for something far more profound than physical intimacy or material accumulation. When your soul is starved, when you are profoundly disconnected from your body, your purpose, your true emotions, or your authentic self, you reach for the easiest, most accessible substitute. The illusion of closeness, the fleeting surge of dopamine, the temporary high of acquisition. You scroll endlessly through digital landscapes, fantasize compulsively about idealized futures, or chase meaningless encounters, believing you're seeking pleasure, connection, or fulfillment. But in reality, you're desperately trying to escape the aching silence, the profound loneliness that lives beneath your skin, the existential void that screams for attention. This isn't about being bad, it's about being divided, a fractured self. The part of you that was never loved in the right way, never seen or affirmed authentically, now searches for that love in all the wrong places, externalizing a yearning that can only be met internally. This cycle is self-perpetuating. The more you chase the illusion, the deeper the void becomes, and the more disconnected you feel from your core being. Your inner life becomes a constant battlefield, with conscious desires clashing against unconscious compulsions, leading to a profound sense of self-alienation. This isn't freedom. It's a profound form of psychic possession, where the hidden parts of you dictate your every move, and you simply call it fate, believing you have no other choice. So, what happens when you decide to stop running, to cease the relentless pursuit of external solutions to internal problems? What happens when you dare to look into the shadowed corners of your inner mansion to unlock those forbidden rooms and finally gaze upon what resides there? This is where Carl Jung offers not despair, but a radical path to liberation. The momentous process of integration. Integration means becoming whole, not by cutting off portions of your being, not by discarding what you deem undesirable, but by bringing the contraries together. It means acknowledging, accepting, and ultimately incorporating those disowned parts of yourself, the messy, the dark, the uncomfortable, back into your conscious identity. It is a terrifying yet exhilarating act of courage, a courageous descent into your own depths. The first step is simply to become aware. This awareness is not a passive intellectual exercise, but an active, moment-to-moment presence. The next time you feel a surge of anger, a wave of unexplained sadness, an intense craving you can't logically justify, or an inexplicable aversion to someone or something, pause. Instead of reflexively blaming the external trigger or harshly judging yourself for the reaction, ask, what is this trying to teach me about myself? Where have I felt this precise sensation or emotion before, perhaps in a deeply buried memory? What story am I telling myself in this very moment about this person, this situation, or my own worth? This subtle but profound shift in perspective is the ultimate turning point, the hinge upon which your inner world swings open. You stop asking why are they like that, why are they doing this to me, and consciously start asking, why does this still move me, why does this resonate with such intensity within my own being? Because the truth is, no one truly has the power to make you angry, or to hurt you, or to diminish your intrinsic worth. They only have the power to show you where your healing lives, to inadvertently highlight the unaddressed wounds within. They become unwilling messengers, shining an uncomfortable spotlight on the unhealed fragments within your own psyche, the very parts you've suppressed. This isn't about becoming emotionless or numb, detaching from the rich tapestry of human experience. It's about becoming transparent to yourself, clear-eyed and honest about your own inner landscape. It's about feeling everything, the full spectrum of human emotion, without becoming lost in it, without allowing it to hijack your conscious will. You can feel anger, a searing heat of injustice, but respond with clarity, purpose, and self-possession rather than uncontrolled rage. You can feel triggered, a sudden jolt to your system, but stay grounded in your truth rather than spiraling into defensiveness or self-pity. You can feel profoundly misunderstood, but no longer feel an overwhelming need to be explained or validated, because your intrinsic worth is not up for debate, not contingent on external approval. This process of compassionate self-inquiry transforms your triggers from enemies into profound teachers, your reactions from overwhelming problems into invaluable maps guiding you back to yourself. Every moment of internal discomfort becomes a door, and on the other side is a part of you, a disowned emotion, a buried memory, a forgotten dream, a stifled expression, waiting to be seen, to be acknowledged, to be brought back into the conscious light of your awareness. When you begin to integrate your shadow, you start to reclaim your scattered energy. The immense energy previously spent on suppressing, hiding, and defending these disowned parts becomes available for true self-expression, authentic creativity, and meaningful connection. Your lust, once a desperate, empty pursuit of fleeting gratification, can transform into a vibrant, conscious expression of intimacy, passion, and connection rooted in genuine choice, not unconscious compulsion. Your anger, once a destructive, uncontrolled force, becomes clear, sharp information, guiding you towards necessary boundaries, self-protection, and deeper self-compassion. This journey is not about achieving some elusive state of perfection, but about embracing profound wholeness. It means allowing the truth of who you are, all of it, the messy, the beautiful, the contradictory, the light, and the dark, to take up space within you, not performatively for others, but internally for yourself. You stop needing the world to reflect your value because you've looked into your own reflection, unflinchingly, and you didn't flinch. You bravely meet the version of yourself you've been avoiding your entire life. The jealous one, the insecure one, the reactive one, the one who craves validation, the one who feels small or afraid, the one who secretly judges others, the one who carries shame. And instead of judging it, instead of trying to fix or banish it, you simply hold it. Not to fix it, not to shame it, but simply to hold it with the same gentle understanding you would offer a vulnerable child. This act of radical acceptance is the birthplace of true selfhood, the foundation of psychological sovereignty. Your wounds don't vanish, but they no longer own you. Someone can mock you, but you've already made peace with your perceived flaws. Someone can ignore you, but you no longer confuse fleeting attention with genuine love. Someone can leave, but you don't collapse because you never truly abandoned yourself in the first place. This is the essence of true psychological sovereignty. Imagine walking into a room where people once triggered you profoundly. The same dismissive tone, the same subtle arrogance, the same energy that used to set your blood on fire, causing your heart to race and your palms to sweat. But this time, you don't flinch. You don't feel the reflexive urge to defend. You don't shrink into yourself. You see them clearly, perhaps even their own underlying insecurities, but more importantly, you see yourself clearly, and the emotional fire that used to consume you, it's gone, not because you don't care, or because you've become numb to the world, but because you're no longer projecting your unhealed parts onto them. You've made peace with the aspects of yourself they used to activate, and now they hold no power over you. This is what Jung called individuation, the lifelong journey of becoming the unique, whole person you were always meant to be, fully integrated and self-aware. You cannot become whole if you remain at war with your own reflection, constantly trying to reshape it into something more palatable for others. But the moment you stop blaming the mirror, you begin the profound, sacred work of healing the image itself. And in that transformative process, anger becomes wisdom, discomfort becomes clarifying feedback, and every trigger becomes a sacred messenger pointing you back to yourself, offering a precious opportunity for growth. This isn't about transcending human emotion or becoming an unfeeling automaton. It's about becoming centered in who you truly are, so deeply rooted in your authentic self that no external noise, no fleeting opinion, no unkind action, no judgmental gaze can rewrite your inner narrative. The power you've been chasing, the elusive peace you've longed for, doesn't come from avoiding what triggers you. It comes from disarming them by integrating their source within yourself. You stop outsourcing your identity. They don't respond to your message, and you stay grounded, your peace undisturbed. They mock you with a cruel word, and you don't shrink, your self-worth unshaken. They misunderstand you profoundly, and you stop trying to explain what is already whole and intrinsically known. You don't react because you no longer require anything from them, their approval, their understanding, their attention, to validate your existence or define your worth. Jung famously stated, "I am not what happened to me. I am what I choose to become." And when you choose to become whole, When you consciously embark on this journey of integration, no one gets to define you again. Not by their praise, not by their insult, not by their silence, not by their abandonment. You become the master of your own inner dominion. Here's the beautiful, almost miraculous consequence of this inner work. The very people who used to derail you, who could send you spiraling with a single word or glance, will start to feel different. Not because they've magically changed, but because you've reclaimed the parts of yourself they once activated. That ex who once made you feel invisible and unworthy, now they're just a person, a part of your past, holding no emotional sway over your present. That friend who incessantly talks over you, leaving you feeling unheard. You no longer feel silenced because you no longer need their permission or their quietude to speak your truth, to take up space. That co-worker who undermines you with subtle jabs and passive-aggressive comments. Their sting vanishes because their opinion doesn't anchor your self-respect. Your worth is not derived from their fleeting judgment. You used to live in constant response to the external world, buffeted by its currents. Now you live in profound, authentic relationship with yourself, grounded in your own core. And once you cultivate that inner relationship, once you nurture that self-trust and self-compassion, you are no longer reactive. You become deeply responsible for your own emotional landscape, truly responsive from a place of conscious choice and irrevocably rooted in your authentic being. You stop trying to protect a fragile, superficial image because you've made peace with your authentic reality, with all its beautiful imperfections and complexities. Carl Jung never promised happiness in the superficial sense. He promised something far more enduring and profound: wholeness. And in that wholeness, your anger is not a problem to be suppressed. It's a pointer, a clear signal that a boundary has been crossed or a value violated. Your discomfort is not a failure. It's clarifying feedback, an invitation to look deeper. Your triggers are not enemies to be avoided. They are sacred messengers bearing vital intelligence about your own healing journey. And once you genuinely listen, truly listen with an open heart and mind, they stop yelling. People will still project their own shadows onto you. They will still misunderstand you, misinterpret your intentions, and attempt to box you into their limited perception. But none of it sticks, none of it adheres to your being, because you are no longer shaped by their fleeting version of you. You have built something unshakable, a self that doesn't need to be managed, a self that doesn't need to be validated by external sources, a self that no longer takes anything personally, because nothing personal can truly reach someone who knows precisely who they are, untethered from external opinion. That is the ultimate freedom. Not silence, but stillness. Not ignorance, but profound awareness. Not dominance over others, but compassionate integration of self. You can walk into any situation, see any face, hear any words, and remain untouched by their negative impact. Not because you've built impenetrable walls, but because you no longer have leaks in your own being, no unhealed openings for external energies to exploit. Your boundaries become sacred, not rigid. Your energy is unequivocally yours again, flowing freely within your own system. And your peace is not a performance, not a precarious facade. It is the unwavering truth of your liberated self, emanating from your core. What if the people who seemed to hurt you were never the enemy, never truly set out to inflict pain? What if the words that stung, the tones that pierced, the judgments that burned through your chest were all just mirrors? Not of who you are, but of who you've forgotten to be, or perhaps who you've never allowed yourself to become, stifled by fear or societal expectation. Carl Jung's work isn't just about abstract psychology, it's a deep dive into the soul's quiet unraveling, the slow, agonizing collapse of identity, when we base our worth, our very existence, on external reflections, on the ever-shifting sands of others' opinions. And he found something both terrifying and beautiful, a truth echoing through the ages. Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will simply call it fate. You thought the discomfort came from them, their ignorance, their coldness, their harsh tone. You pointed the finger outward, seeking to control the external variables, but it wasn't them. It was your unconscious, the shadow self, pulling you back into the wound again and again, orchestrating a symphony of triggers until you finally looked at it, until you finally owned it as a part of your own landscape. That's the paradox, the profound truth. You stop being triggered not when people miraculously get kinder or more understanding, but when you stop borrowing your identity from their behavior, when you sever the energetic cords that bind your sense of self to their reactions. The moment you declare, with unwavering conviction, "I am not your perception of me. I am not defined by your approval or rejection. I'm not brought down by your silence or boosted by your praise." That's when you finally stop flinching and just be yourself. That's the moment you truly come home to yourself, settling into the sacred space of your own being. Every time someone triggered you, they weren't showing you your limits. They were showing you your gaps, the places inside that were still fragile, still defined by survival, still shaped by stories that were never truly yours, passed down through generations or absorbed from a culture of conditioning. You thought strength meant not reacting, that if you could just be calm enough, quiet enough, emotionally still enough, no one could reach you, no one could pierce your carefully constructed armor. But that's not peace. That's fear with good posture, a fragile facade of control. Real peace is when someone lashes out at you, and you stay rooted, grounded, unwavering, not because you're numb, but because you see through it. You see their pain, you see your old wound being activated, and you don't get pulled into either. You observe, you acknowledge, and you choose your response from a place of clarity, not compulsion. That's the final realization, the crowning insight of this journey. You're not here to defend yourself from the world. You're here to meet yourself through the world. Every argument, every trigger, every passive-aggressive silence, every person who made you question your worth, they were never here to break you. They were here by cosmic design or the profound dance of the unconscious to bring you back to yourself, to the core of your being, because now you don't need them to get it. You don't need closure from them. You don't need revenge. You don't need to be proven right. You've already chosen yourself, affirmed your own truth, completed the internal cycle, and once you do that, nothing else sticks. You walk through life with a profoundly different presence, not cold, not guarded, but utterly clear, radiating an inner knowing. You can smile at people who once hurt you, not because it didn't matter, but because you made peace with what it awoke in you, integrating the lessons into your tapestry of self. You stop fearing rejection because you no longer reject yourself. You stop chasing external validation because your worth is no longer outsourced to the capricious whims of others. You stop overthinking every interaction because your center is no longer up for negotiation. It is settled, anchored, and self-defined. This is Jung's ultimate promise. Becoming the person you were always meant to be. Once you stop becoming what the world rewards, once you shed the masks of conformity and approval seeking. And when you get there, when you truly embody this integrated self, you don't get angry, you get still. You don't get reactive, you get present, responding from a place of grounded awareness. You don't carry grudges, those heavy anchors from the past. You carry clarity, a lightness of being. So if you're still watching, if this resonated with something buried deep inside you, a quiet yearning for more, know this. The very fact that you've been triggered, that you've felt that inexplicable discomfort, means you're alive. It means you're ready. You are not weak for feeling, you are powerful for bravely facing it. Because most people will never do this work. They'll spend their whole lives blaming others for the mirror, forever caught in the external blame game. And they'll die without ever truly seeing who they were, what profound depths lay within. But you're here, listening, reflecting, and that means you are changing, you are evolving. So now the real question becomes, what kind of person do you become when nothing outside of you gets to control who you are anymore? What happens when you stop hiding behind a facade of calm and instead build your peace from the deepest wellsprings of truth and self-acceptance, from the very core of your being? This journey isn't about numbing, it's about awakening. It's about bravely looking at your shadow and integrating it, one profound truth, one moment of self-awareness, one act of radical acceptance at a time. Thank you for joining us on this journey into the heart of Jung's timeless wisdom. May you embrace the quiet strength of your authentic self, knowing that true freedom begins where the shadow ends, where the unconscious becomes a conscious ally on your path to wholeness. If this message illuminated a path within you, please like, share, and subscribe to continue exploring the depths of the human psyche and the limitless potential of self-discovery.